The late 19th century was a dynamic and exciting time in American history, a time of great innovation and even greater opportunity. The Industrial Revolution gave rise to vigorous new industries. Manufacturing, railroads, and communications were all booming, and in the process, a small group of Americans became incredibly wealthy. They were the entrepreneurs of the age, men of wealth and vision who made their huge fortunes seemingly overnight. At a time when the median family income was less than $500 a year, these industrial titans made tens of millions, fortunes which today would be worth billions. All this during a time when there was no personal income tax. This new class of millionaires spent freely and extravagantly, causing Mark Twain to cynically dub this the Gilded Age.
The analogy of the Gilded Age is a particularly apt one for this period because gilding implies that it's a veneer, a thin layer of something over something else. And in large part, that's what the Gilded Age was. There was a veneer of gentility, a veneer of respectability, and what lay underneath was not particularly attractive in many cases. A lot of these fortunes were made in ways that didn't bear a lot of scrutiny. A lot of these people came from backgrounds that were not particularly illustrious. So there was a gilding, a patina put over one's past.
And the era's nouveau riche saw themselves as America's nobility. They built magnificent estates, palaces really, that rivaled those in Europe. Architectural extravagance became a hallmark of the Gilded Age. And nowhere was this more elaborately realized than in the small seaside mecca of high society known as Newport, Rhode Island. Here along the seaside on exclusive Bellevue Avenue were some of the most opulent homes ever built in America. Designed with gold gilding and bronze, imported marble and carved wood finishings, and rooms filled with priceless antiques, the Newport homes were built to impress, to establish their owners as having arrived. Newport's reign as a summer mecca really began in the 1820s, when wealthy plantation owners migrated to the Rhode Island seacoast to escape the oppressive summer heat and the outbreaks of yellow fever. These early summer colonists lived in an elegant yet understated style, building modest colonial cottages. By mid-century, the economic power began to shift, and the wealthy plantation owners were replaced by a new urban social class, the barons of the industry.
And by about the 1860s, the hotels that they had been staying in were no longer fashionable, and really what everyone wanted to do was to rent, or even better, to own a cottage so that they could make a statement about their place in society.
The new urban rich wasted no time in claiming Newport as their own refuge from city life, transforming it into a showcase of power, wealth, and social status. It was in 1852 when these dramatic changes began to transform Newport. On a bluff overlooking the great expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, Newport's very first Gilded Age cottage was built. It was called Chateau-sur-Mer, Castle on the Sea. And it was more than just a grand summer home. It was the beginning of an era and an incredible building binge that is unparalleled in American history. And like the other great homes which would follow, Chateau-sur-Mer was filled with antique furnishings and rare collectibles. Ironically, the fortune that built this castle on the sea came from the sea. William Shepherd Wetmore was an audacious and bold entrepreneur who had made his fortune in the high-risk yet lucrative China trade. When Wetmore was ready to retire in 1850, he chose Newport and set out to build the most imposing cottage the town had ever seen. He commissioned local contractor Seth Bradford and built a 3-story Italianate villa of rough-hewn Fall River granite brought in from Massachusetts. The grand estate also included a carriage house, a porter's cottage, and expansive greenhouses. It was the first house built on Bellevue Avenue to obstruct the view of the ocean, certainly a privilege only the very rich could afford. In Chateau-sur-Mer, William Wetmore created more than a mere home. It was a symbol of his stature in Newport's high society, and he wasted no time in exploiting it. In 1857, Wetmore hosted what has been described as the greatest affair of its kind ever given in this country.
William Wetmore had one of the grandest parties called the Fête de Champêtre. He invited all kinds of important people, from counts to dukes to captains. There were about 3,000 people invited to this event. They came to huge pavilions set up for dancing, food, music, and there was actually a piece of music specifically composed for this event called the Fête Champêtre March. The food that they all ate was an incredible list of things, ranging from salmon, oysters, pâté de foie gras, cakes and sherbets for dessert. Very, very elegant. A lot of people look at this party as really a benchmark of entertainment in Newport, and probably never to be copied again.
And so, at least once a week, many of Newport's most illustrious summer citizens, industrialists, artists, writers, and in one case even the President of the United States, entered the Great Hall of Château-sur-Mer. In Château-sur-Mer, the Wetmores had certainly succeeded in upping the ante in Newport's high society. It was truly an extraordinary home for its time. But it was only a beginning. The best was yet to come.